Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we will continue with the same chapter. We are on the 25th verse now, and we can chant. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Daivamevapare Yajñam Yoginah Paryupasate
Yoginah Paryupasate
Brahmagnavapare Yajñam Yajñe Naivopajuhvati So as we mentioned, these are all expansions of the 18th verse. So here, look at the words. Apare yoginaha. So apare means others. Some other yogis. What do they do? Paryupasate yajñam. They perform those rituals. Eva. It's a very important word. Some other yogis, what do they do? They perform only those rituals. Eva yajñam paryupasate. What kind of rituals? Daivam. So invoking the deities, invoking Saguna Ishvara. While there are other yogis, apare, what do they do? Upajuhvati. They offer. Upajuhvati offer. Whom? Themselves. Upajuhvati yajñam. Yajñena eva. They offer themselves into what? Brahma Agnau, into the fire of knowledge. Okay, so in English, some yogis offer the very self. They offer themselves into the fire of Brahman. And some yogis, they perform Deva Yajna alone. They invoke only the Saguna Ishvara. So now in the next 10 verses, Krishna is doing Jnana Stuti, the glorification of knowledge. And there is a particular manner in which this is being done. What is that? He talks about various spiritual sadhanas which are prescribed in the scriptures. And he names a few sadhanas. But the difference is all those sadhanas he refers to by the name Yajna. So in this verse, every sadhana is called a Yajna. So Japa sadhana is Japa Yajna. Dhyana sadhana is Dhyana Yajna. Yatra sadhana is Yatra Yajna. Pranayama sadhana is Pranayama Yajna. The term here, Yajna, doesn't mean only the ritual. It means any action in the form of a sadhana. And why are they called Yajnas here? Because you look at all the sadhanas, there is one common factor. What is that? The Lord is invoked. Ishvara is invoked. Whatever the form of the sadhana, whether it's a japa sadhana, you are invoking the name of Ishvara. Dhyana sadhana, you are invoking the name of Ishvara. Fasting, upavasa sadhana, you are invoking the name of Ishvara. It is a yatra sadhana, you are doing some yatra to holy places, you are invoking Ishvara. You are doing pranayama sadhana, you are invoking Ishvara. Any activity in which Ishvara is being invoked, he calls by the name Yajna. Because all the activities are dedicated to the Lord. And if I am dedicating my activity to the Lord, what must be the result? Chitta Shuddhi must be the result. So my Antakaranam becomes pure. And therefore, in any sadhana which I am devoting to the Lord, I am seeking my Chitta Shuddhi alone. Lord is involved, prayer is involved, Chitta Shuddhi is involved, and therefore they are all called Yajna. So in this vision, the word Yajna does not necessarily mean there should be a fire and there should be an oblation. You should be offering something into the fire. There should be a Yajna Kunda. All these things are not necessary. If you are looking upon the Lord as being there, for example, we say that our house is a temple, right? Why? Because Ishvara is there in the house. And that is the meaning of the very term when you do this Ghar Pravesha, entering the house. What are you actually saying? That, oh Lord, this is your house. Please permit me to stay there. So it is the Lord's house and you are the custodian. And if it is the temple that you are staying in, then even if you are sweeping your temple, jhadu pota, if you are sweeping a temple, that is also yajna. So all it requires is a change of attitude. And that change of attitude, it makes it a puja and it gives you chitta shuddhi. Therefore, Krishna says everything is called yajna. So if you invoke the Lord within your stomach and consider whatever you eat as an offering, that also becomes yajna. So in Chandogya Upanishad, this yajna, which is because of eating, it is called prana agnihotri yajna. Why? Because the prana resides in your stomach as agni, and therefore prana agnihotri yajna. So every day, 3 times a day, if you are eating thrice, or twice a day, if you are eating twice, providing you are invoking the Lord when you eat, it is prana agnihotra. All of us are nitya agnihotris, at least nitya prana agnihotris, because we eat all the time, right? So that was very impressive. And here, even the study of the scriptures is yajna. Yogita lectures are yajna. So yajna does not require the fire. And Krishna is pointing out that among all the various sadhanas, among all the various jnana yajnas, Brahma yajna, that is Brahma Jnana yajna, is the greatest spiritual sadhana. All other yajnas are subsidiary only, which means every other activity, every other sadhana which you do is finally a supporting sadhana for jnana yajna. So we are not saying that any yajna other than jnana yajna is useless. All yajnas are useful. Why? Because they will give you chitta shuddhi. But none of them will directly lead you to Brahman. All the subsidiary yajnas, at the maximum, they can lead you to the Acharya, to the teacher. Any puja you do, any karma you do, any upasana you do, the net result of all that, if it is successful, is that you come to Vedanta class. And therefore, these subsidiary yajnas, they have a particular name, we should remember. These are all subsidiary sadhanas, indirect sadhanas. And in Sanskrit, they are called paramparik sadhana. Sadhanani, paramparik sadhanani. All are subsidiary means only. And the Jnana Yajna alone is the direct means. And Jnana Yajna is called Sakshat Sadhana. So this is going to be the teaching from here, from this 25th verse. So look at the verse. It says, Brahmagno apare yajnam yajnena eva upajahati. Right? Brahmagno apare yajnam yajnena eva upajahati. So you have to break the words carefully. Yajnena eva upajahati is yajnena eva upajahati. So in a yajna, what is there? There is agni. There is an oblation. And there is oblation also. So what agni is there in a yajna? In a Brahma yajna, there is agni which is the Jnana Agni, the fire of Jnanam. And that fire of Jnanam is not different from Atma, Paramatma, the higher I. And Shankara quotes in his commentary from Vedas, from Upanishads, to show that Brahma here means Nirguna Brahman only. So he says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. He quotes. Taittiriya Upanishad, to show that this Brahman is not Saguna Ishvara we're talking about, it is Nirguna Ishvara. And Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, Brahadaranyaka Upanishad. So he's quoting to show that the Brahma Agni is no different from Nirguna Brahman. And Yajnam, the word Yajnam means Ahankara. So that has to be carefully noted. Yajnam normally means ritual. But here, in this particular line, Brahmagno apare Yajnam Yajnena eva upajati. What is it meaning? Yajnam Yajnena eva upajati. So Yajnam here means Ahankara, the lower I. And what am I doing? Through this Vedantic study, through this Gita study, what am I doing? This Ahankara is going to be surrendered to the Lord. Which means this RC of mine, Ahankara, is going to be offered to the Lord as a oblation, as a havihi. So Yajnam Ahankara Yajnena eva. Through this Brahma Yajna, Upajuhvati, I am offering to the Lord. This what happens when the lower I is offered into the Lord? Because you are a combination of what? Lower I and higher I. So if the lower I is being offered to Ishvara in the Yajnam, what remains is the higher I. You as Atma, your higher self alone remain, because the Ahankara you are offering to the Lord through this particular Yajna. So he says, Yajnam Yajnena eva. This Ahankara Yajnam I am offering to the Lord, Yajnena eva upajohati, through this particular Jnana Agni. The lower I is resolved into the higher I. The limited finite I gets resolved into the limitless infinite I. It's like, to use an example, if you are talking about the wave and the ocean, or the wave and the water rather, when you mix the wave into the water, that wave becomes one with the water. It loses its finite form. Finite form is that of a wave. So in terms of this knowledge, until the wave gets the knowledge that it is water, very carefully understand, the wave thinks it is a finite wave subject to birth and subject to death, until it gets the knowledge that it is actually water. The moment that wave knows that it is actually water, even though the form remains, the Guru comes and tells the wave, you are not the wave. You have to shift your vision into water. And the moment that happens, what happens? Krishna says, Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The wave has transformed itself into the water. Even while retaining the shape, it no longer thinks it is finite. And that wave should be compared to Yajnam, the Jivatma. Shankara says very carefully that in the second line, Yajna refers to Jivatma who is offering that Ahankara. So this is the meaning given by, Acharya called Yashaka Acharya. Anyway, so this Yajnam is offered into what? Brahma now. Brahma Agni here is, we said earlier, the Brahma Agni is no different from Nirguna Brahman. Therefore, the Ahankara you are offering into Nirguna Brahman. So in Vedantic terms, if you remember all the discussions we have done, the Tvam Pada Vachyartham is being offered as the oblation into the Tvam Pada Lakshyartham. Can somebody explain that? Tvam Pada Vachyartham is what? What is Vachyartham? No, you have to explain properly. What is Tvam Pada Vachyartham?
The literal meaning of the word.
Of what you read, that is Vachyartham.
The little meaning of the word tvam is what?
You.
You has no meaning in this context. What you?
The RC finite.
The body mind sense complex. That's RC.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
So
RC,
tvam
yes.
pada vachyartham is RC. Tvam pada lakshyartham is what?
Brahman,
Brahman.
infinite.
Atma.
Atma or Brahman. And therefore, in Vedantic terms, this particular sloka is saying that the RC, the Ahankara, is being offered as an oblation to the Atma. Remember, who is offering? The RC is offering. What is the RC? Combination of RC and OC. So, if the RC is offered, what remains? OC is offered.
Only OC remains.
Right? So, Karta, Bhokta, Jivatma is the offering. What is the Agni? Akarta, Abhokta, Paramatma is the Agni. The doer, experiencer, Jivatma is the offering. The non-doing, non-experiencing, Paramatma, Brahman is the fire. Okay. So the offering here is purely figurative. There is no physical action involved at all in this offering. You don't actually go and do any offering. Right? There is only a change in your understanding. What is that change? Until now I said, this is a wave or I am a wave. Now I am saying, even though I retain the form of the wave, I am actually water. The form is only mithya. Understanding the mithyatvam of RC, understanding the mithyatvam of the Jivatma, understanding the mithyatvam of the mind, that is understanding the satyatvam of myself as Atman. So this offering, the oblation, is purely a intellectual job in the intellect. It's a cognitive change, a change in our understanding. This change, this cognitive change, this intellectual work that we do of changing our outlook, changing our understanding, this is called Jnānayoga. So he says, Yagnena eva. So here Yajnam is what? Jivatma. This job is done by the Jivatma himself. What is the job? Jivatma offers the Jivatma itself into the fire of Paramatma. This process is called Jnānayoga. Remember that the Yajamanam. Yajamanam is what? Who's a Yajamana?
The one who performs the yajna.
The one who performs the yajna. So there's a very basic difference that you have to understand. In every other type of yajna which Krishna is going to talk about, and in any yajna which he doesn't talk about also, the yajamana is retained. The offerer, the one who does the yajna remains. But in Jnana Yajna, the yajamana is disposed of, because as we said, Jivatma offers Jivatma. The Jivatma is the yajamana, is the offerer. So in every other yajna, the one who does the ritual, the yajamanam, remains. But in Jnana Yajna, that Jivatma offers himself into the fire of Paramatma. So the yajamanam is disposed of. That is the main difference between Jnana Yajna and other yajna. In every other yajna, yajaman remains. But in Jnana Yajna, yajamanam disappears. This resolution of the Jivatma, this absorption of the Jivatma into the Paramatma, it's got a technical name. It's called Pravilapanam. So this you will see again and again this term when you come to Upanishads. It's called Pravilapanam. Pravilapanam, the technical word in Shastram, meaning the offering of the Jivatma to the Paramatma. Again I will say, this offering is figurative. Offering simply means I understand Jivatma is mithya. That understanding of Jivatma as mithya, understanding that my mind is mithya, that understanding is called Pravilapan. Okay. So there are 2 or 3 very nice, quotations. One is from Mandukya Karika. It says, Na nirodho na chotpattihi, na bandho na sadakaha, Na mumukshurna vai muktaha ityesham paramarthata. Na nirodho na cha utpattihi. There is neither destruction nor is there birth. No creation is there, no destruction is there. Na baddho na sadakaha. There is nobody who is bound. There is nobody who is a seeker. Na mumukshurna vai muktaha. There is no mumukshuhu. There is no liberated one either. Ityesha paramarthataha. This is called paramartha. Paramarthic viewpoint. This is Mandukya Karika. We will also be doing that sometime later. You may not have heard of that, but you must be familiar with Nirvana Shatakam. Has the same meaning here. Na dharmo na chartaha na kamo na mokshaha chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. There is neither dharma, no dharmaha, na artha, na chartaha, na kamaha, no kama is also there, na mokshaha. Moksha is also not there. What is there? Chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. So this offering of the Jivatma into the Paramatma, Paramatma is the Agni. This is Jnānayoga, which is otherwise we call what? Nididhyasanam. This offering takes place in the activity, mental activity, which we call Nididhyasanam. Okay, there is another quote from Mahabharata, which you should know. Tyaja dharma adharma cha ubhe satyanrate tyajaha ubhe satyanrate tyaktva yena tejasi tat tyajaha. We often think that Mahabharata doesn't contain Vedanta, but this line is from the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. What does it say? Tyaja dharma adharma. Renounce dharma and adharma. Then ubhe satya anrita tyajaha. You should renounce satyam and asatyam. Anritam means satyam. So ubhe satya anrita tyajaha. Renounce satyam and asatyam. Ubhe satya anrite tyaktva. Having renounced, having got rid of satyam and asatyam, what should you do? Yena tejasi tat tyajaha. That is the most important line. That by which you have renounced, that you should renounce. Renounce that which is the instrument of your renouncing. What does it mean?
Renounce your body.
What is the instrument by which you renounce?
The intellect.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
No. Who renounces?
The RC.
Person,
Arsena. Exactly. So, yena tejasi. What is that? That which renounces is what? The RC, the ahankara. Tat tyajaha. Renounce that ahankara also. It's the same thing which I explained. Okay. Just remember here that satya anrita can be taken as referring to the Vyavaharika plane and the Pratibhasika plane. As you know, there are three levels of reality: Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, and Pratibhasika. So, Satya Amrita can be taken as Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika. You have to pronounce both because both are mithya. From the Pratibhasika can be taken as the dream state. So, from the Vyavaharika, from your state of Jagrada Avastha, Swapna and Swapna Avastha is mithya, Pratibhasika. But from the state of Paramarthika, the same relationship holds. From Vyavaharika, Pratibhasika is mithya, but from Paramarthika, Vyavaharika is mithya. Therefore, you should renounce both. And after having renounced both, what should you do? You should renounce the ahankara, the jivatma. The question is, when the jivatma itself does not remain, where is the question of moksha? Because moksha is only for jivatma. You are renouncing the jivatma itself. So who wants moksha? What is the answer?
we are already mukt.
The Jivatma already has moksha.
Jivatma is not there. The whole idea is to say that this jivatma is a mithya. what is being driven is a very, very important fact here. As long as you think you are a Jivatma, you will never get moksha. Moksha is your very existing state, but not as Jivatma. Right? So they get another question here. You are saying renounce. The moment you say renounce, there is a person who renounces and there is something which is renounced. There are two things. How can you say it is Advaitam? That could be a question, right? So Shankara steps in his commentary to say it is true that we are talking about a renouncer and the renounced, right? But he says this duality, this Dvaitam, it exists only in the Ajnani's buddhi, in the intellect of the Ajnani, because division between Jivatma and Paramatma is not caused by time and space. What is it caused by?
Ajnanam.
It is caused by Ajnana. So that you must remember that is the reason I put that little, thought yesterday or day for yesterday. All divisions which you see in the world, in the Mithya world, they are caused by time, space and gunas, time, space and attributes. But the Jivatma Paramatma division is not caused by time and space. It is caused by Ajnanam only. Therefore, this Dvaitam exists only in the intellect of the Ajnani. Once you are Ajnani, this Dvaitam, you will still see the Dvaitam. It is not that you will not perceive the Dvaitam, right? You will perceive the Dvaitam, but you will understand it as Advaitam only. Having said this, Shankara gives guidelines for Nididhyasana. Okay, so that is very, very important coming from Shankara. So he says, Prataha Smarami. Prataha means early morning. When you wake up in the morning, Smarami, you should remember. What should you remember? Remember that I am Brahman. So when the moment you wake up in the morning, don't think of your wife or husband or children or the maid or the cook or the coffee or the tea. Okay. Don't think about exercise. Don't think about going for a walk. Don't think I have to keep my body fit. Smarami, Prataha Smarami. Remember, I should invoke myself as Aham Brahma Asmi. That is the meaning of Prataha Smarami. The moment you get up, do that. The day should begin with the binary format. And the day should end with the binary format. The triangular format, you will have to necessarily invoke in the day for any external transaction. But ensure that your internal dialogue with yourself, what we call internal chatter, is always in the binary format. And Shankara says, this is Jnānayoga, and this is, he says, Samyak Darshanam, correct understanding. What is that understanding? I have no Sanchita, I have no Agami, I have no Prarabdha. Remember the beginning of the study, we say Jnanam destroys Sanchita and Agami, but Prarabdha continues. This is all we say all these things, right? But at this stage in the 4th chapter, Krishna says, you have to refine all these concepts. You have to say that I have no karma at all. I have neither Sanchita, neither Agami, nor Prarabdha. Where is the question of destruction of these karma at all? You see, you're coming to a complete turnaround. From saying that karma is there, I have to make sure I do good karma, avoid bad karma, destroy old Prarabdha karma, all that through exhaustion. I'm saying I have no karma at all. What does it matter to me? What the body undergoes? This is daily nididhyasana. This is the internal format change. Internal format thinking format change has to take place. This is the Jnānayagya. Any questions on Jnānayagya?
So you said in this verse, the word yagya means something specific. Can you just say that again? What is the
There are two yajna. Yajnam here means ahankara, because he says yajnena yajnam. Through this yajna, which is the ritual, so the first yajnam is ahankara, second yajna is jnana yajna.
So the word yagya itself means sacrifice.
No, that is what I'm saying. In the 25th words, yajnam, yajnena. The yajnam in the second line means ahankara. The yajnena means through jnana yajna.
And in the first line, when it says
That is
yagyam,
the ritual. Daivame vaparam, apara yajna. That is the ritual. Yajna, sacrifice, sadhanas.
okay, that's where.
Yeah. So you have to, this is a very difficult verse. So you need to go back, listen to the recording, write down each word and write down what I said, and then go over it time and again. One listening is not sufficient for any of these verses. You have to listen and listen and listen and listen. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Now the problem about Jnana Yajna is what? It requires tremendous internal maturity. It requires Chitta Shuddhi. And not everybody can do it. Okay. So, what does Krishna say? Now he comes to the first line. Now we go to the first line. The discussion so far is about the second line, which is Jnana Yajna, renunciation of Ahankara into Nirguna Brahman. Now he comes back, we have to come back to the second line. Why? Because not everybody can do Jnana Yajna. So Krishna says, Daivam eva apare yajnam yoginaha paryupasate. Apare yoginaha. Other people, other yogis, what do? Daivam, you have to supply yajnam. Daivam yajnam paryupasate. They do Vedic rituals like Agnihotram, Agnyaya Swaha, Prajapatiya Swaha, Brihaspatiya Swaha. Ritualistic yajnas they do, where they are invoking specific deities. Okay. And here Shankara adds a note saying that all these other yajnas are introduced here for what purpose? To tell us that Jnana Yajna is the highest yajna. And only in case our limitations in terms of Chitta Shuddhi, we are unable to do that, then only we should be looking at the other yajnas. Because other yajnas are basically stepping stones. They all give you only Chitta Shuddhi. After Chitta Shuddhi received, is obtained, then only can you come to Jnana Yajna. That is the main meaning of this particular. The first line is simply introduction of other yajnas. And that he will explain in the next slokas. But the main yajna he already talked about. Yajnam yajnena upajahati. That is the main yajna. Renouncing, offering the ahankara, offering the jivatma into the fire of Paramatma by the jivatma. Which is what? Again and again I'll repeat. All that second line means is understanding that jivatma is mithya and I am the Paramatma. That is jnana yajna. That is the main sadhana. Every other sadhana introduced is only for the purpose of giving Chitta Shuddhi. That is what is meant by Daivame Vapare Yajnam Yoginaha Paryupasate. Other people who are not ready for Jnana Yoga, Jnana Yajna, they do other yajnas so that they will acquire the necessary sadhana chatushtayam to be able to come to Jnana Yajna. Important verse. So, any questions?
Sir, I have a question, Smita here.
Yeah.
Sir, so all of us who are in the Vedantic classes are straight away going from ritualistic. I don't know what the others, but I haven't done any ritualistic yajna in my life in terms of, except for whenever the parents or whatever made us sit for yagnas, and we're straight away into this. So have we bypassed the Chitta Shuddhi and we've reached to Vedantic knowledge already?
Good
And
question.
it wasn't required. Maybe in past births we did all the yagnas.
That's a very good question. So, anybody would like to answer that question? Anybody? No? Vaishnavi, would you like to try?
Sir, the necessary chitta shuddhi was there because of earlier janma.
No, the question is specific. If I don't do other yajnas, does it mean that I have bypassed? And I have...
Om Raviji, can I?
Yes, Mida, please go ahead.
Okay, so there is no bypassing because we saw in third chapter the two sadhanas and the two nishtas. So there is no option in the sadhana. There's only option in the lifestyle.
Okay, good. So essentially, whatever you are doing, if you are doing as Easwaran, that is covered by other yajnas. Remember here, because there is the ritualistic portion of the Veda involved, Krishna is giving specific yajnas, specific sadhanas. Okay, but for those of us who have not, been exposed, like today's lifestyle, Vedic rituals are not done, excepting of very, very few people. That doesn't mean that for Chitta Shuddhi you have to do only those rituals. Whatever you do today, whatever karma you are doing, if you are offering it to the Lord, that falls under yajna. What is the purpose of yajna? To give you Chitta Shuddhi. So Ishvara Arpanam Bhava, that should be there. If that is there, then for you, Chitta Shuddhi is there. Smita?
Thank you, sir. Yes, I totally agree with that.
So remember that just because you have not done Vedic rituals. Why? Because those days the rituals prescribed by the Vedas. So lifestyle was different. The environment was different. Today you don't have that lifestyle. So we are not saying that you're not, and more importantly, if you are able to sit in a Vedantic class for 1 hour every week, and most of you all come for more than that, the other classes which you attend. So 2-3 hours a week you are spending on Vedanta. I mean, without Chitta Shuddhi, that would not be possible at all. Right? You look at when we started the class, there were more than 100 participants. Today, less than 70. 30% have dropped. Okay, why? They couldn't take the grind. It was as simple as that. So Chitta Shuddhi was not there. So those of you who are continuing there, you can be quite happy that Chitta Shuddhi is there. Okay. So thank you, Meda.
Om Acharya. When we are speaking of Ishwar Arpanam Bhava and Brahman Arpanam Bhava, like one is in Jñānayoga and the other one, like you said, the Vedic ritual activities, is there any difference in that?
No, because the word Brahman is used interchangeably for Ishvara also.
Okay, so the yagna, as far as the Gyan yagna is concerned, so that is also taken as, that can also be said to be a part of the Chitta Shuddhi as well?
Yeah. Jnana is not Chitta Shuddhi. Jnana requires Chitta Shuddhi. Jnana is where you are offering what? You are offering ahankara. To offer the ahankara means, offering ahankara means what? Understanding ahankara as mithya, which requires what? Jnana. So don't get confused by the word offering. When he says Jivatma is being offered into Paramatma, it simply means Jivatma is being understood as mithya.
Okay.
To understand Jivatma as mithya, you have to have what? Jnanam only.
Jnanam.
And that Jnanam will not work on you, even if you listen to the class, unless Chitta Shuddhi is there.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Omji.
Yes.
Sorry, yes, in addition to the previous question. So, yeah, you will see that as we go on with the studies, then beautifully Krishna explains how the whole lifestyle can become a supporter for the goal itself in chapter 16 and 17.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful description of how life itself can become a yajna.
Yeah. In fact, your whole life should be a yajna, because your sole purpose is basically, Now, there's one more addition to that, Vaishnavi. As long as you look upon your life as yajna, what are you?
Yeah, of course, there's an identification.
Yeah, there is, you are a sadhaka. And as long as you're a sadhaka, you are far away from moksha.
Exactly.
So jnanam basically at one point, see, is very important. It's like training for the Olympics. Okay. You can train for 10 years. You can train very hard. But that training cannot give you the medal. The medal is received when you actually compete and win. It's like that. So all this, your yajnas, your lifestyle, everything is very, very important. But the moment you get jnanam, the moment that you understand that I am Brahman, the whole process is dropped, because it is the Jivatma which has done all this. You as Brahman have never needed to do anything at all. That's the additional input, but that will come much later.
Of course. Yeah, but at this stage, of course, Krishna has to explain that
This stage
for
you have to
acquiring the Jnana Yogyata, of course.
Yes, that is why the last bit comes, unfortunately 16 and 17 in my opinion should have been earlier chapters. But Krishna chose to put at the end.
Om Raviji.
Yes, tell me, Amit.
Acharya ji, I have a doubt. When we talk that we have to offer Jivatma to Paramatma, so who is offering actually Jivatma to Paramatma?
Who is getting the knowledge?
So until now, I was thinking that this is Jivatma who is getting the knowledge for Chitta Suddhi.
Correct.
But if I am offering Jivatma to Paramatma, then actually is it really Paramatma itself offering Jivatma to Paramatma?
That is why I said, Mahabharata said, that by which you offer, that also you should, what they call, sacrifice or renounce. Which means what? You have to see the offering, as long as you take the word offering in the literal meaning of English, offering, you have a confusion. Because there is an offerer and there is an offered, and there is an offering. That's why Shankara says this duality of offered and offering, offerer and offering will remain as long as Dvaitam is there in your buddhi, in your intellect. The moment you understand that the whole thing is mithya, then the problem is resolved. So the whole issue is the offering has to be understood as understanding mithyatvam of RC, of Ahankara, of Jivatma. The moment you understand that Jivatma is mithya, what remains is only Paramatma. Who understands Jivatma as mithya? Jivatma himself.
Okay. And just so then once this understanding is there, then there would be no use of doing all these offerings, because I understand myself that I'm the
Yes.
whole.
So again, that rest of it depends on the prarabdha. If you are somebody like Ramana Maharishi, then you will do nothing more excepting sit and give some talks. If you are somebody like Tapavan Maharaj, you will retire to the top of the Himalayas and you will not see anybody at all. If you are somebody like Shivananda Swami, you would be still doing a lot of work. So that question, remember that whatever is done afterwards is done by the body-mind complex. It doesn't pertain to you at all. The body-mind complex has to continue prarabdha. For you, at that stage, you are Brahman. So that body-mind complex of yours is not yours anymore. It is of just a body-mind sense complex in which you are supporting. Like the millions of body-mind complexes in this world, yours body-mind complex, which you used to think of as mind, that is now one of them. It's a very, very elevated concept. So I suggest you park that until we go slightly further.
Okay. Thank you.
Because dealing with that at this stage is going to cause a lot of confusion. I think advanced students like Vaishnavi and Medha would agree with me. What do you all say, both of y'all? Medha? She's not there.
So offering is really understanding there is no RC. So when there is no RC, you are the Brahman yourself, then how can you be offering?
I'd like either of these two. Medha, can you speak on that?
Yeah, the previous I mean, the previous question you asked,
Mhm.
yeah, it takes time to come to terms with it. And it takes, and even like in the beginning, you feel you don't understand. And after a while, you feel I've understood, but not understood. So,
Correct. That is the problem. In the beginning, you think you understand, and then you say, "What have I understood?" That becomes a problem afterwards.
so
But then it's like a
take time.
growing clarity, like it by itself develops, and it just develops while you continue to do whatever you have to do. And of course, continue with the exposure to the Shravanam and continue to do
That is all that you can do.
Mannam.
Do your Shravanam, Mannam, Nididhyasanam. Okay.
Exactly.
In fact, I asked my own teacher, Swami Paramarthananda, the same question. That how long, Swamiji, do I need to do all this? If those of you who met Swamiji, you know that he has a very typical smile on his face. He smiled and said, "Until you realize that all that you're doing is rubbish." So once you realize that I wasted my time, then you have arrived. Until that time comes, you have to continue to waste your time.
Yeah.
There is no option. It's the very nature of Jnanam. Because you cannot objectify yourself. Any normal terms which you apply, In fact, at the moment you use the term Jnanam itself, or the moment you use the term moksha, what are you implying?
There is ajnanam and there is bondage.
There is ajnanam. The moment you say ajnanam, you are saying there is ajnanam. The moment you are saying moksha, you are saying there is a person who is not mukta. As long as any word is used, duality is bound to be there. In duality, there can never be Brahman. Or rather, duality exists in Brahman, but you cannot say you are Mukta Purusha. Therefore, you will continue to use dualistic concepts, but the understanding has to be Advaitam. That is the only way you can continue to see plurality. But in and through all that plurality, if you are able to see that you are the substratum on which the plurality exists, that is real knowledge. That I am there, everything that I see, multiplicity of things that I see, they exist within me only. And you have to remember that me is not your body, mind, sense complex. That me is Atma. So the greatest problem is to drop this body, mind, sense complex as me. And when you drop the body, mind, sense complex as me, that body, mind, sense complex of yours, it just becomes one more among the thousands which you are supporting. Do you see the difficulty?
Yes.
Every time you use the word I, by rote, you are using it as RC. That usage has to stop. There is a RC, but there are millions of RCs. So I can never be the RC as long as you're talking about Brahman. From the viewpoint of Brahman, there is no RC at all.
So should we start using we instead of I?
That's the English way of saying no. You use I. Aham means I.
21st October 2023.
Shastram doesn't say Vayam. Shastram says Aham. Because we means plurality, is it not?
Yeah.
Where is plurality? Atma is only one.
Yes.
So that we you cannot use. You have to say I. The moment you say we you are accepting that there is more than one me. And again, you are back in the same thing.
Correct.
Acharya.
Yes, June.
Thank you, Acharya.
I was wondering why Krishna put these very advanced verses in the initial chapters of the Gita and not in the final one.
Well, for that, there is
Because
no access to Lord Krishna to ask what to do.
Okay.
But yes, ideally speaking, when teaching, you should teach verse number 16 and 17 and part of 13 all first, all the good qualities and all that, and then you should. But that's not the way.
May I try this, Acharya?
Try what? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, what I think that because Krishna was interacting with Arjuna, and Krishna was aware that Arjuna is the advanced scholar, he understands all these concepts of Vedanta. That's the reason he started the conversation from the viewpoint that he already knows. And as and when he started conversing, then he understood, okay, maybe Arjuna is not able to understand. Then he came to the smaller concept at a later stage. But he started with the a higher concept because he understood that Arjuna is already aware about these concepts. This is what I'm thinking. It could
Tell
be
me
one of the
one thing,
reasons.
Amit. Was Arjuna liberated after the Gita was heard?
Yes.
Did his subsequent
No.
behavior in the Mahabharata show that he was liberated?
No.
No. Why?
Uh,
Because of his prarabdha.
Assimilation was not complete.
How do we know? What is the example? What is the incident in the Mahabharata which shows that he was not liberated?
in
I
the
The
think
war,
last
many times.
last time.
Pitama, when he had to, when Krishna had asked him to kill Bhishma Pitama the first time, he was not able to, and Krishna mentioned in the Mahabharata that
That's
despite
one of
all this,
them.
you are
The
not.
other one is what?
Can I say?
What happened? Yes, Deepak ji, believe.
When the war was finished, so Krishnji, he was expecting that Krishnji will get down first and open the. I mean, first he'll get down and then Arjun will get down. But Krishnji asked him, if आप पहले उतरिए मैं बाद में उतरूंगा. So he didn't like it. But the moment वो उतरे और कृष्ण जी उतरे, पूरा chariot burn हो गया. That ego was still there last तक उनके अंदर.
No, that's a different.
Second was
That's a different.
Karna's,
Anybody else? That story is
Karna.
true, but it's different.
Karna's at the time of killing of Karna, probably he still had a lot of fear in his mind whether he would be able to.
What is the definition of a person who is liberated? Remember, what is the only
Fearless.
teaching verse? First teaching verse, what is it?
When Abhimanyu was killed,
Excellent.
Arjuna was very upset.
Excellent. So that is the answer. And what was that? Upset is in Sanskrit is what?
Shoka.
Shoka. So what was the first teaching?
Ashochanan Vashochastvam.
Ashochati Panditaha. A wise man does not grieve. So Arjuna was not a liberated person. So Amit bhai, your theory doesn't work. That's why I said that we don't try to analyze why. You know, Krishna just said it. And when you read commentators like Shankaracharya, they of course explain in the same order, okay? But they bring in all these things in their commentary. That is why when we explain, we talk so much about Sadgunas. When we read 16 and 17 chapter, you will see how much of the Sadgunas we have already covered. And therefore, our commentary on 16 and 17 chapters will be very short. Because we have already covered in great detail. So, during the explanations, we give you these inputs. But don't try to extract. The problem with Shastra is when we try to use our mind to explain things, which is why I said that teaching has to be given in its original format. What is the original format in which Krishna gave Arjuna? And that original format is carried out by the Parampara. And our guide to the Parampara is Shankara. So we go by Shankara's explanations only. Whatever explanations I am giving here, I can claim no credit for it at all. Okay, because I have got it from my teacher got it from his teacher, and so on. If you go back, it goes to Shankara. Without Shankara, we would be as confused as anybody else.
Raviji, though, can I share? There's one more incident, telling incident where we find Arjuna, like the Gita didn't work on him.
Please.
Much later, when Krishna and Arjuna are taking a walk, apparently the story goes, Arjuna tells that, hey Krishna, do you remember that day on the battlefield when I broke down and you told me some things? I have totally forgotten. Can you repeat it again? And Krishna also
says, I don't remember.
Yeah, he also says, I also don't remember. That just came in a flow.
Yeah.
So basically, the first person who spoke Mahabharata, who spoke Bhagavad Gita, and the first person who heard Bhagavad Gita, both
are-
of them forgot.
In fact,
And then he repeated, and that is called Anu Gita or something.
Anu
I think.
Gita is there, Uddhava Gita is there. There are many Gitas, all are repetitions. So basically, Krishna said that I do it because I was in the yoga. Yoga means at that point I was in that flow. So I told you, but if you ask me again, I can't remember. Thankfully, who remembered? Vyasacharya remembered.
Sanjaya
Sanjaya
Vyasacharya.
Vyasa remembered. That's why we have the teaching. Which illustrates one more thing, that Avatara is also got a body, mind, sense complex. Whenever you've got a body, mind, sense complex, you are limited by that. And if Krishna could be limited, then what about us? So those of you who have not read the Mahabharata, you should really read it. It's really worthwhile. There are very many, editions. There are small editions by Rajgopalachari. There are slightly larger editions. There is a 6,000 page edition also. That's very nice ones.
So, Acharya ji, this leads to one question like what we just discussed. Actually, I was about to ask this earlier, but I didn't ask. See, sometimes we have insights of liberation. We feel, yeah, now I understand. Or let's say during the meditation or during some contemplation, we think, yeah, now we understood. But during the after that, during the entire day, we forgot, and again we come to dualism. So I think Dididasam or Mananam is the only way to keep on remembering. It's a continuous.
See, there are two concepts, okay, which you have to understand. One is Jnanam and one is Jnananishtha. So Jnanam is what you have got now. Okay. Jnananishtha is when you never forget the Jnanam. It is like today if I ask you, are you a man or a woman? You don't need to think, am I a man or woman? You know. How do you know? Spontaneously. That spontaneous remembrance of the fact that I am Brahman should be there. So today when our normal approach is what? I know I am a Jivatma, and for me to remember that I am not Paramatma, I need to make a special effort to remember that I am Brahman, right? When that is Jnanam, that you can remember that you are Brahman is Jnanam. But when that position is reversed, and when I know that I am Brahman all the time, but for transaction, to talk to somebody, to teach somebody, to eat my food, I have to remember that I am Jivatma. I have to invoke the Jivatma status. That is called Jnananishtha. When I am permanently in Brahman state, for doing things, I need to invoke my Jivatma status. That is Jnananishtha. The other way around, when I am permanently in Jivatma state, but I invoke my Brahman status during Nididhyasanam or during Vedanta class, that is Jnanam. That is why the most important sadhana is Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam simply means remembering I am Brahman all the time. It's not a part-time activity. It has to be done which is why in all these movies, you see those rishis with that japamala in their hands, right? What are they doing? They're continuously remembering I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahmasmi. Until such time as that becomes a natural state for you. That is Jnananishtha.
Ji.
Yes, Vaishnavi.
Recently, I listened to a lecture of Swami Paramarthananda, which is called Jnananishta.
Yeah.
And he beautifully explains how attitudinal transformation can be summarized in three steps. Sorry.
Go ahead.
First, Jnanayogita Prapti. Then the second one is Jnana Prapti itself. And then Jnana Nishta Prapti, which is nothing but Nididhyasanam, as you were saying.
Yes. So that is your whole process is like that. First, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. These 5 steps. And the Nididhyasanam has to constitute, see, your Jnānayoga is over after Bhagavad Gita. Okay. All the Upanishads that you do, they will add nothing. They are only Nididhyasanam. So once you have completed Bhagavad Gita, your Jnanam is over. Hopefully, Mananam is also over. Why do we do Nididhyasanam? See, for a person who has got 100% Chitta Shuddhi, Nididhyasanam is not required. The moment Shravanam is done, it's complete. Jnana Nishtha is there. But we don't have, none of us have got 100% Chitta Shuddhi. And therefore, for us, post Jnanam, whatever sadhana we practice, it is for completing that Chitta Shuddhi. That is Nididhyasanam for us. Nididhyasanam is continuous remembrance of the fact that I am Brahman, at the same time trying to get rid of all those negative tendencies that I have. So the most important part of our sadhana is Nididhyasanam. You are all very lucky that you got the ages, I mean at least 30, 40 years in front of you with Nididhyasanam. That kind of leeway was not there for most of us. But with you all, most of you are very young, and Nididhyasanam will constitute a major part of your lives. And you will see the transformation. Yes, Pooja?
So is watching Mahabharata equivalent to reading it?
Well, you can read it in translation. It is better than watching it. But some of the ones, I don't know the modern ones, okay, the earlier ones were pretty decent, but everything is dramatized. So if you want to read, I think there's one lady who has, I don't remember the name, who has done a very good translation. I think I put in the group sometime.
Kamala Subramaniam.
Kamala Subramaniam, very good translation. You read that. Rajgopalachari has one, but it's very brief. Kamala Subramaniam is a good translation.
Sure, thank you.
Om Acharya ji?
Yes, Jyoti ji.
Yes, so I just want to know, when we're talking about Shravanam and Mananam and Nididhyasanam, so Shravanam, what we are listening when we are attending the classes, or probably we are attending other scriptures like yours or Tanmay ji's or Swami Permanand ji's discourses on these things, as well as Mananam, what I'm getting, because this question is arising in my mind most of the time, that Mananam, what do I need to think that I am into? I mean, it's just that I am Brahman, is the Mananam will be okay, जिसको हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना कि फिर किसका ध्यान करना चाहिए हमें exactly. That's what I want to know basically.
I want to ask you what you mean by hame.
Sorry, sir?
I want to ask you what you mean by the hame. Hame dhyan karna chahiye, you said, na? I should think. Who is the I?
Yes, sir. वो मतलब how should how to replace it?
If you have to ask that question, you are still to understand. So that's why I keep saying, na, Jyoti, your Mananam is not, your Shravanam itself is not complete. Let Shravanam be complete. Somewhere in the process, you will know what you are, but you will have doubts. See, right now, you are not sure what I am.
No, sir. That is okay. That's what I'm getting it probably. But if Aham Brahmasmi, yes, he aayega, I think, is going to be in my mind most of the time, then how it is going to, I mean, that would be, that is the only thing which is going to help.
You have to be able to, when somebody asks you today who you are, do you have to ask your neighbor, am I Jyoti?
No, not at all.
You don't even have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
How does it come about? Do you have a conscious thinking process where you say, I am Jyoti, my parents didn't be Jyoti? No. It's just bubbles up spontaneously. You know without any doubt.
So if
when you are able to say, I am Brahmasmi with that same spontaneity, then Mananam is over.
So that's what is Mananam here?
Anywhere. Mananam means you have to be able to acknowledge that you are Brahman with the same immediate spontaneity that you acknowledge that you're Jyoti today, that time, with the same conviction which you say I'm Jyoti, the same conviction you should be able to say I'm Brahman. As long as you ask a question, how do I do it? You are still in the Mananam stage.
Okay, okay. So that was the confusion. Can we just like that हमारा जो ध्यान है वो वहीं पे होना चाहिए.
No, you ask yourself all the doubts which you have. What is it which prevents me from thinking that I am Brahman? You have to write it all down and try to address it.
Okay.
That Mananam stage, nobody can help you excepting yourself. Up to Shravanam, you can come to the teacher. At Mananam, if you have a doubt, you can ask. But the resolution has to be at your level. The teacher cannot help you. The teacher's job is over with Shravanam. He has a partial input in Mananam. In Nididhyasanam, he has no role to play at all.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Acharya. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, please? Fine. Thank you for your patience. Anybody else has any other questions? Please put them in the group. We'll try to answer them.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Namah Shivaya.